Hey guys, welcome to the 6th episode of Metal Mixing 101. Apologies if my camera settings are all weird, I was taking photos. Before we start today, this is going to be really out of pocket, but I've been in a multi-day long argument in my Discord server over whether this on the screen is a chicken sandwich or a chicken burger. If you want to help me convince everyone that it's a chicken sandwich, link is in the description. Anyway, today we're going to be going over how to mix synths and how to blend everything into your mix. I have a song called Kingslayer, and it's honestly the perfect example for this video, so it is going to be a different song than my last episodes. But without wasting any more time, let's just get right into it. So if you haven't heard it, this is the intro for the song. Right, it just repeats, so I'll stop it there. But I'll go ahead and take out all of the synths in the intro at least and just show you what it sounds like without it. So just a quick note, when you add synths, or at least when I add synths, I like to have it be more of a support feature than be like super present in the mix. In some parts of this song, it is the main focus, but in a lot of spots, it's just kind of supporting the guitar or the bass, whatever I want to emphasize most in that part. And so you'll see that when I wrote the bass MIDI for this section, it's playing all of the, I mean, you're not going to see, but it's playing the same exact thing over down on the synths. It's just following whatever the bass and the guitar are doing. For the guitar, I typically tend to prefer if it has an octave. So by that, I just mean a high and a low. So that way it's kind of just an extra layer of something adding to the sound. And so even if I just add those two sounds into this mix, you're going to hear that it's a lot more pushed forward and a little bit more in your face. And so I'll just go ahead and show like a quick before and after. I'll just go ahead and switch it on as it's playing just so you can hear what it's adding. So off. And on. And so you can kind of see there in that specific example, it is not at all present in the mix, but when I did add it, you can hear that it gave it a little bit more depth. And that's just mostly what I was looking for in that section, because I really like that guitar riff I wrote. And so I just didn't want to take away too much from that. That being said though, there is spots where it is the main focus. So like right here, I have a filter where I had the EQ go from like cutting all the high end all the way to sweeping across like this. And what I like about that in particular is, since your attention goes so much into the synth part, once it's back at its normal volume and once it's back in the background, you hear it a little bit more in the mix, even though there's nothing different from the beginning of the song. And so that's just a cool way that I found to kind of emphasize it without having to mix too much outside of what I've already done. And the way I went about mixing these synths, honestly, it's extremely minimal. I only really have a low end roll off. I didn't do anything else. However, that being said, if you wanted to use saturation on your synths, that would be a really, really good and easy way to have it be kind of just more in your face and bite through the mix a little bit more. For this specific example, I'm going to use JST Heat. You can use Saturn, you can use just about any other saturation, but I just like to turn knobs, so JST Heat. I know there's a specific preset on here for like synths, but I don't really care too much about any of that. I'll just go ahead and do edgy synths just to be spicy today. And so I'll start it at 0 and I'll start raising it, and you'll kind of see how it just pushes a little bit more forward in the mix. So in the context of the full mix, just so you have a better idea. And so you can really hear how it's just becoming more audible in the mix when you, I mean, I had to raise it to the extreme, but even just solo. And aside from it just giving it more volume, it is giving it a little bit more high end. It's giving it a bit more bite. And that's always something you can keep in mind. Like even with guitars, with anything else, you can treat synths kind of like guitars in a way. I find the way that I tend to compress things in synths, or how I tend to EQ, how I tend to kind of just sound design them in general, they have a lot in common with guitar, especially when you're having synths that have like a full spectrum of just sound. There's always going to be the mud in the signal. There's always going to be too much low end. There's always going to be those really weird harsh frequencies that you wish weren't there. There's always going to be something. But I guess what I'm trying to show here is it's really simple. Even if you're doing like sub bass, which I'll show you next, you can either sidechain it, you can cut the low end just like you would for bass and guitar. It's going to be the same concept. So for these two synths here, this is a sub bass and this is kind of just like a low end 808. And as you can probably see there, the volume gets louder as it goes on just to help build the intensity. But say I don't like how muffled the kick is in that specific intro part right there, I'm going to use Soothe, but don't think you have to get Soothe. It's an expensive plugin. You can just as easily get this done with Pro MB, any Fab Filter. I know those are expensive too, but even just stock plugins, you can do the same thing here. I really like the sidechain on Soothe in particular, however, because if I were to just go to flat start, so there's no processing at all, turn on sidechain and then just drag the kick track into it, it'll just go ahead and sidechain to that track in particular. And I'll just raise it up like that, just a random amount. And then for Soothe, if you don't know, when you raise it up, it makes it more sensitive to the frequency that it's sidechaining to. If you put it down, it's less sensitive to that frequency that you are targeting in the sidechain. So since it is a really low frequency of the kick that I'm targeting, I'm gonna just kind of try and find where it's sitting and see how I can make it kind of just stand out a little bit more. So you can really see around 90-ish hertz, it's really picking up now. And so if I wanted, I can just go ahead and go extreme. And while the volume of it isn't changing, I'll play it again, but you can hear that it's getting a lot more punchy. It has a lot more body to the kick rather than just having it just be like a random sound on top of the sub bass. Go ahead and turn this off and just play it through as usual. And on. And so you can hear, again, it's just adding a lot more body to it. It's giving a lot more punch. And mixing little things like that really add up over time. So even though I didn't do this in the final mix, I didn't really feel like it was necessary. But now that I'm listening to it, I wish I did. But all of these little moves, all of these little things that you're adjusting just a tiny bit like that, they do add up. So just keep your eye or ear out for that. So moving on to my lead synth. So my lead synth, it's honestly just, again, copying the bass line or the guitar. Sounds like this. And in context of the mix, and if I recall, I'm going to go ahead and mute it one more time, because if I recall correctly, I really liked this riff that I did for the chorus. And I remember the part at the end where there's like that little slide kind of thing, or hammer-on pull-off. It just felt weak. And so I wanted to find a creative way to kind of push that forward rather than just automating or compressing harder or whatever. And I feel like the synths just gave it more of that unique feel that I was looking for. So I'll show you how that sounds now. So without any of the synths, Like it is present and you can hear it quite well. I just didn't like how kind of lame it sounded, I guess. And so with the lead synth, just giving it a little bit more high-end bite, and that's what I was kind of looking for. But then I also layered on the typical high and low octave that I showed at the beginning. And to me personally, that kind of just made it fill out a lot. And again, just keep the depth that I like to try and keep in my mixes. And even for the lead synth, I didn't really do much. It's literally just a straight up preset that I got from Modern Metal Songwriter or Modern Metal Solutions now. I guess somewhat sponsored. Like I do have an EQ. It's taking out nothing. Realistically, just 20 hertz. I don't even know why it's on there. I think I was just trying to do like the filter sweep like I did before. I do have a second lead synth here, and it sounds like this. And I was using that kind of as a motif for what comes next in the song, because who doesn't like a good motif? For this one, I, again, just did nothing. It's just a different preset. And that kind of just goes to show you I don't really think too much about synths as much as I should probably. With everything in context of the mix, sounds great to me at least, and that's all that matters. So this is what it sounds like all together. And yeah, so this is just kind of like a bonus part of the video because I really, for some reason, was really happy with this. It's such a subtle thing. You don't even hear it in the song, but I love it. So I'm going to mute these two synths right here, and I'll play you this little part without it. That sounds sick. I'm not going to lie. I wanted it to have that electronic kind of feel where it's just dropping, like kind of like dubstep, I guess. And I ended up finding two synth patches that I really liked. I don't make my own synth patches, by the way. Everything is from Modern Metal Solutions or somewhere else I find online. But I found this one, and I just copied it on a different preset. And together. And again, those basically have nothing. I believe I EQ'd a bit of this. No, but I did compress it quite a bit. As you can see, it's just completely squashing it. And then I just added a lot more high end because I wanted it to have more grit, which is also nice with synths. You can really push EQ and get cool results. So this is without it. But that kind of sounded a little lame to me. So I just added a 12.5 dB of a boost at 2300. And that sounded just how I kind of envisioned it in my head, I guess. I'll mute those synths, I'll play the part, and then I'll add it again, and you'll see kind of what I was going for there. As opposed to this was kind of a hard video to make because, I mean, as you see, I don't really mix too much when it comes to synths. I just like to keep them as they are. I do sound design them sometimes, like I did with that last one. But for the most part, I just mostly look for depth in my mix when I add synths. And you can find that to be true in a lot of modern metal. Like there's been videos coming out recently from URM, and they're showing how they're just sidechaining the hell out of the bass and the sub synth bass, and it's just adding depth to the sound. That's kind of what I go for when I'm choosing patches or kind of just going between two and seeing which one I like more. Sometimes it's texture, sometimes it's more just depth and feel. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the like button, whatever makes the little button down there glow. If you found any value in this video, it would mean a lot to me. If you can give me a subscribe, give me a subscribe. Are you kidding me? I am done shilling, so I will see you guys next time. Bye.